Behind the mask.
To what's happening, my boy?
What's good, family? Another day in paradise. You know what it is.
Hey, man, we got another special guest
Absolutely.
inside of the lounge.
Yeah, man. You know, I'm loving when the big fellas come in the lounge. You know what I mean? Offensive linemen get y'all little defensive guys up out of here. Go ahead, man. Proceed.
All right. I'll give you that because we do have quite a few defensive guys coming through. Our next guest is an NFL legend, former offensive tackle, known for his 16-season career with the Bengals and the Rams, a 4-time Pro Bowler, multiple-time All-Pro, and also 2-time a Super Bowl champ.
Got the ring.
Got the ring. He also earned Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year Award for his impactful philanthropy, and now he is serving as an NFL analyst on Thursday Night Football, Amazon Prime, baby. And I love watching him because I love getting the strong takes that they do.
Facts.
Man, y'all welcome to the BTM Lounge, Andrew Whitworth.
Yeah.
Let's go.
What's happening, brother?
Man, I'm good. I'm ready.
I appreciate you taking time out of your day, fresh off the plane.
Fresh off the plane, you know? I get my energy, got my coffee. I'm
Yeah,
good, you know?
got the caffeine and everything. So we gonna jump right into it, man. First of all, congratulations on being nominated, not nominated, but you are the SEC legend for those other Tigers
Yeah, the
down
real
in the
Tigers.
Bayou. Hey, man, don't be coming on. We got a real Tigers.
My fault. Y'all got Tigers, don't you? Oh, anyway, all right, you good.
They called us when we played, I went to Ole Miss, so they called it the good, the bad, the ugly. We was the good, State was the bad. Guess who was the ugly? LSU was the ugly.
I think of those teams of who's got rings. But anyway.
Oh, dirty.
Can't be ugly when you're shining.
I know it. I got a high school though. Anyway, so bro, like an illustrious 16-year NFL career, you accomplished a lot, but I think of the longevity that you were able to do what you do and you did it at a high level. What do you attribute that to?
I think anytime you're talking about longevity and consistency, I mean, there's so many factors that go into that. I mean, some of it is obviously being blessed to just, you want to call it being blessed, lucky, whatever it is you believe in, being able to, you know, have things go in your way and have things you avoid. Because obviously all of us know in the game of football, one thing's guaranteed, you're going to get hurt.
Yeah, 100% rate, right?
That's it. So there's obviously things that also, though, that I think it would discredit the work you put in and the mentality you have for, you know, continuing on a day in and day out basis, attacking like, how do I be at my best? I think for me, something I was blessed in is at a really young age, I was in an awesome strength conditioning program in high school. It's still something that I equate a lot of my success to. An amazing strength coach that was way ahead of his time. And from the age of 13, I was training no differently really than any strength coach I ever had the rest of my career. I mean, this guy was way ahead of his time at that time and really where sports were and with lifting weights and getting bigger and faster and stronger on a daily basis. So that really set this, I call it foundational strength and foundational fitness that I had, that I really could spend my NFL career taking care of my body, not having to live in the weight room because I had this basis already of I don't have to earn anything in the weight room anymore. I've already got all that. It's really how do I maintain? How do I continue to stay healthy and really in great shape? And so I could spend my effort and time in that because the reality is there's a lot of NFL guys that get banged up just trying to stay strong enough to play the game, trying to keep their body where they feel good out there on the field. I never really had to do that. I could spend my time almost unwinding a little bit of that, focusing on mobility, focusing on agility, focusing on being a lineman who was in really good shape, right? And so I always had that basis of being really strong. I mean, I didn't have wrestling in the South, but I was a power lifter. So I grew up in high school. I was a starting, center, power forward on the basketball team, and I was the heavyweight state champion in powerlifting. So, like, two things that do not go together.
They don't go together.
Flat out that, like I always say, like, I mean, how are you this, because high-hipped, skinny-legged left tackle, like, it's just not a lineman body, right? But it's because I was playing hoops in the afternoon, but before I went to hoops, I was squatting 600 pounds on my back in high school. And so I was able to build this foundational strength, but also have the agility. And that carried on to my NFL career. I played left tackle like I was playing basketball defense. And that's it. Just stay in front of them, and the goal and the quarterback are the same thing.
It's your thing, man. Like, a lot of people sleep on this man's career in terms of the consistency, the longevity, what that means. You definitely one of the GOATs, bro. And what's even more admirable, you think of sports on how you did it your way, right?
Yep.
You think of the buzzer beater in the finals to win the finals. You think of that walk-off home run in the World Series. You won the Super Bowl in your last game in the NFL, bro. Take us to that moment where you like, I did it my way. I'm out the game now.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's obviously 11 years in Cincinnati, and then to go spend 5 in LA, and have some of the most success you had in your whole career in that time in LA, and had a lot of great years in Cincy too. Really, we had a great run. We just couldn't figure out a way to win a playoff game, and the postseason really what hurt us. But I think to me, it's really when I look back on my career, that moment was sick, but it's really like, all right, in high school to have the opportunity to go 58-2 in the 4 years I was there and go be a part of 3 state championship teams, to go to LSU. And at that time, they really hadn't been successful, for quite some time. I think their last national championship was in 1953 or something, so like you go to LSU, you win a national championship with Nick Saban, and then you go to the NFL, and Cincinnati had been struggling for years. And it's like all of a sudden, 7 out of 11 years we go to the playoffs, and then you go to LA. LA had been struggling for 15, 16 years, and they hadn't had a winning season since like 03 or something. I get there in 17, and we win 3 division championships, go to 2 Super Bowls, have a chance to win one at the end. I look back and it's like, man, this legacy of like everywhere you were at, it feels like you left it better than you found it. And that to me is what I always wanted to do. It's who I am as a person. I don't care if it's a room, a sporting event, a person I meet. Like I want to leave the situation or the encounter better than I found it. And to end it, and I always say like it feels like that reward of all that time you put into everything, but to end it where you're playing for the Rams, you play the team you used to give everything you had to in Cincinnati, in the Super Bowl, you win Walter Payton Man of the Year, and you can walk off with the 2 franchises you represented. Just felt like an epic moment, like a movie almost, to walk off that game. And there's so many layers to it that made it really special that I always look back to. But it was a pretty unreal moment for sure. Like not the whole week was just like sitting there thinking like I knew it was my last game ever. I'm playing the other franchise that my heart and soul is in. To have the honor to do that made that whole entire week feel like, man, I just feel blessed to be here and have the honor of like, I'm going to get to go with the like 2 franchises I'm invested the most in. I'm going to get to end my career playing in a game with those 2 playing in it, in the Super Bowl, in the peak of their franchises, was just something I'll never forget.
Bro, I think that's so dope. We joked about being ringed up. Bro, you literally ringed up over there. Like on every level.
Every level. I've won it at every level. Yep. It's crazy. It really is. And it's so many coaches and players and people and experiences that make up a wealth of knowledge of like, man, just getting to see how people did it. You talk about doing your own way, but like every coach and player that made us who we were in those different teams that I was at, and you get to observe it and see how there's many different ways to do things. There's not one way to be successful. And I think that's always helped me, is I've always had an open mind to not everybody has to be like me. Nobody has to look like me. They don't have to do it the way I do it. But how do we find what gets you to be at your best? How do we find what gets you to chase your best? Because to me, I always call it's a daily pursuit. I don't care what we're doing, right? Like I want to inspire people. I want to help people find what it is that gets them in their groove, where every day it's not about whether they beat the day. It's about the next morning, do they wake up and take the day on again? That's the goal. The goal is to take the day on again. Whether we beat it or not, hey, life's life. There are going to be ups and downs. But do you wake up the next morning, reset the pieces, and say, I'm about to attack that shit like I did yesterday?
Right on.
And like, to me, that's what life's all about.
Yeah. And clearly you made that transition from on the field to in the broadcast booth and analyst for Thursday Night Football. My question to you is like, what challenges or surprises that you may have encountered entering into that realm, and how have you been able to overcome them?
Yeah, it's been crazy. It's, I joke all the time when I get to go speak places about it, and people ask me about doing that now. It's like when I got in the league in 05, 06, like leaving college, I'll never forget, like my offensive line coach would like come in the room and be like, hey, listen, any of you linemen, just so you understand, like there's gonna be media in locker rooms. Like y'all don't talk to media. Like y'all don't speak. If you speak, like you're gonna pay a fine and a bucket. Like we're linemen. We don't say a word. We don't talk. We just block and serve. That's all we do. And it's like, to think that your career starts like, man, we're linemen, and it's like, if we ever had a quote in an article, our O-line coach is like, why are you talking about, why are you jumping on the sword? Why are you doing that? Like, you're like, dang, all right, I won't ever talk to nobody. And so you go through your career like that, and then I'll never forget, I always give Taylor Lewan credit for this. Like, Taylor Lewan's the first like NFL guy I remember who like got drafted, and like he immediately started doing media stuff, and everybody's like, I can remember guys were uproaring, like vets are like, who's this young kid, like this punk, he's in media, like what's he doing, like he's an O-lineman, he ain't supposed to be doing that. And obviously there's retired guys that were doing it, but not guys like currently young. Right. He was a rookie, and he did the combine the next year, and it's like, man, you know, like what's going on? But then you look at it and how it's changed, that landscape's changed to where now, like really honestly, it's starting to become more and more offensive linemen that are in, you know, even with Jason Kelsey now on Monday Night Football, they're in prime time slots sitting on desk like that you really hadn't seen before. And so it's neat to be part of it. And I think to me, the challenges are, obviously you are a lineman, and it's like, you know, people have a mindset of what you may or may not know. And I think that's the beauty of getting to show your personality and your character and really like who you are day in and day out and what makes you unique to being yourself has been a lot of fun. I would say that, you know, some of the challenges is that, you know, it's like you always got to learn in this space. There's things you share or say, and people are going to critique it or take it, whatever it is. And you kind of have to be willing to say, hey, you know what, like my feelings are my feelings, and how I see football may not be the same as somebody else, but it's what I believe in. And if you believe in it, then say it. And I think for me, I'm really conscious about that. Like I'm really conscious that I'm not here to create a narrative about some player that's not real. I'm not here to create some narrative about a team that's not real or a coach. But I am here to like, hey, like, let's point out like this dude and who he is and what's real about it. You know, I said it last night about Matt LaFleur. Like a lot of people talked about Aaron Rodgers when he leaves the Packers and Devontae Adams when he leaves the Packers. Like, who's this Matt? Like, what Matt LaFleur going to do? You know, and it's like, well, he's done nothing but take the Packers to a team who looks like one of the young, up and coming, going to be unbelievable team. So actually, Matt LaFleur is a hell of a damn football coach. That's who he is, and it's like, it's not a shot at Aaron or Devontae, but it's a reality of like, sometimes we create these narratives, and I love being like, hey, let's point out, like we did talk about this 2 years ago, but like this dude straight up's proved y'all was all wrong, right? Like he was a lot more than what you gave him credit for. So I love those type of things to like give people their, you know, if you want to say give them their love or their opportunity, like to stand up and say, that's me, and beat their chest. Like I love that. That's what I love, man. And so I love doing this for that, like to point out the guys who do it right, man, and that need some of that love because of the way they go about it day in and day out.
Yeah.
And you played in the era where you were one of the greatest offensive tackles of your day. But you've also played in the era where you've seen the game change from straight power running to spread options, to RPOs, et cetera. So talk about the role of the offensive lineman that you see today and how it's viewed in this fast-paced offense.
Yeah, I can remember in 06 sitting there in the huddle like, oh, shoot, we're going to get in the shotgun next play. Like, because it's like you had a couple bad downs in a row. You're used to that quarterback being under center and running the football. We're running, you know, eye leads and freaking ISOs and counters and powers and, man. And so the game has completely changed. Yeah. And that's another part of the consistency and longevity is like, the one thing I always feel like I did really well was I was always willing to adapt and to grow. And so for me, that was, I came in the league as a 345 pound, you know, young tackle who became probably a 350, 360 guy because I played a little bit of guard early, a little bit of left tackle, and then eventually became the starting left tackle. But I was a lot bigger. And I realized, all right, the game's changing, the rush is changing, the quarterback's sitting back there all the time. These guys are getting off the rock. They know it's pass or they know it's shotgun. So they got an opportunity to influence with just getting up the field and getting after the quarterback. And so a lot less of this dude standing right here in arm's length reach and a lot more of this guy's 2 or 3 places over there. So it's like throughout my career, I lost 3 to 4 or 5 pounds every year. And that was always a goal of mine. Like, I don't want to lose it crazy to where I lose a lot of muscle, but I'm always trying to get a little bit lighter. And, you know, and to end my career, probably playing around 315, 313, you know, and so it's like, I always try to adapt to how the era changed, and it did. And it's a night and day difference. When I came in the NFL, I don't care how good the player was, he was close enough that I could touch him within 2 steps. And when I left the NFL, like the 3 tech might be standing over me, and now my guy is way out over there, like and they're twisting and stunting and flying all that. You know, it's like people talk about O-line play, and it's not as good as it used to be. Like bullshit. Like what defenses have figured out, how to pressure, how to rush, how to not just line up 4 guys standing over the top of you all the time, has completely changed. It is a lot harder to pass protect now than it ever has been because of the techniques and all the things that they're doing, and really the way defensive coordinators know how to stress you. And so it's yes, is there some regression in the hitting and all that stuff? So there's probably some line play. It's not as good as it's been, maybe. But there's also, we didn't face that kind of stuff when I played in the league my first 5 to 8 years in the league. Like there was none of that. And now every team has got all these simulated pressures, and you don't know who's rushing, who's stunting, who's picking, who's doing any of this mess, and you're sitting back there and shotgun every single play. It's just a total different league than when I entered.
Yeah, you talked about changes because it's inevitable. Like it's gonna happen, in particular when you look at the game from like player safety. How has it changed from when you first came in up all the way up until now?
Well, one of them is I got to build the calluses of the old school way. And then the league, I always said like it was perfect to play. You know, I was the oldest offensive tackle in NFL history to win a Super Bowl, right? And the oldest left tackle ever, right? At 40 to start at left tackle in a football game. But part of that was the game changed for the better in that standpoint my entire career. So like when I got in, you know, after my first 4 years, it's like you have the CBA and you change how you do camp. You change 2-a-days, you change that. And then the next CBA changes it even more, and it changes how you can practice in the off season. And so it really like went hand in hand with my career of me adapting to the game, but also like, all right, the things that used to take guys out because they were physically getting beat up all the time also improved. And so it was like I was able to kind of like morph myself through the league and what it was adapting to, but in a good way because I'd already been through the tough stuff. And so everything was just getting easier and easier as I was getting older. So I've always said that was kind of something to me that it's like it played in my favor, but it's also like, wow, I mean, the game, what it's considered now to then has changed so much. Even linemen, I mean, that's one of the problems, like one of the young lineman problems to me in this, like you're probably going to see, I think, a flip. You've seen a lot of these teams where in the preseason, they're not playing guys.
Yeah.
I think we're about to get back to they're playing all the time and they're playing lots of snaps because I think one of the things we're seeing in NFL seasons is what offensive line can stay healthy. And why is that, I think? Because you would learn a lot about not just who your best players are, but in camp, you'd learn like, who's my lineman that like, man, they're going to show up with like elbow don't even work that day, but they about to tape it up and they're going to go. Their fingers, so true, they can't close their hand, but they're going to show up and they're going to go. Like you need to know who those guys are before you walk in a season and realize, well, shoot, we thought this guy was our starting left guard, but he's got a little bobo and now he's not playing for 2 weeks. Because you see so much of it now, like guys missing a week and missing 2 weeks and they come back and like, I couldn't even, I try to think through like, what would be the injury that I would ever miss a week or two, like a one game? Like, man, I got to be out for 6 games if I'm missing a game. Right. I mean, like what, I got to have something serious, you know? And so now you see so much of that I think there is this like callous toughness you build in camp that those guys are missing.
I'm glad they did change the rules just because of player safety and then the longevity of the game, protecting the guys because you know more than anybody else. Like we do need somebody to protect us from us. And I understand going back to Aziz when he hit Trevor Lawrence.
Yep.
And like people was like, oh man, the league. I'm like, nah, I get it. Like I personally know him. He ain't a bad dude, bro. He ain't. I've been in that position to where if you making me run all the way over there, somebody getting cooked. Now I'm not saying it's right, but I talked to him and he was like, Spikes, you know that ain't me. And I say, I know that. This too shall pass. But you got to go ahead and just take it, move on, and just, you know, just keep doing what you're doing. Just wanted to kind of get your thoughts on how you saw it play
there's
out.
No doubt. I agree completely. I think the unfortunate part like that, I go back to this a lot, and I put it in, and it's why sometimes if I'm ever going to be critical of those type of things, I put a lot of stuff on quarterbacks. And it's not, I spent my entire career protecting them. Yeah. I love quarterbacks. But I also know the reality is I've served in the union. I did that for years until I got out. The reality is the quarterbacks drive our league, and they're going to get paid the most money. And in my opinion, how I live my life as a captain and as a leader of football teams, that means I have the most onus on me to stand up for all the guys that I represent. Like when I was a part of the union, I didn't give a damn about what the top 20% guys make. I cared about the 53. How do we improve that? How do we do things that affect every single guy that's going to put a helmet on and strap it up? I want every single one of them to be impacted in a positive way. That's what I want to fight for. I don't want to spend time worrying about salary caps. Talk to me about player performance and hey, why do we spend all this time growing the salary cap? But how about we just pay every guy based off every snap they play? If you're putting a helmet on and you're running into another individual, you should make more money. That's it. It's a real simple system if we want to influence all 53. But to me, that's why I put it on the quarterbacks. And so in this situation, I think that the game has gone too far to just whatever keeps a quarterback healthy and puts everyone else at risk. And everyone else has got a harder job. And why I say that is the quarterbacks are the ones that are going to have to be vocal and go, you know what? We're making the game too much about me. I need to protect these other guys. Right. I need to be vocal about these other guys. I love that Tom Brady's saying all this stuff now about the rule. Bro, when you was playing, you was whining about penalties the whole game. You got tons of clips on there arguing with head refs. He hit me in the face. He pulled me at this. You were always doing that, right? You got to milk the system, baby. Now you talking about it. It's come on. So when y'all are playing and you actually have the impact on the game, talk about it. Help these guys out. Hey, you know what? We shouldn't be able to slide late. The Patrick Mahomes play. Yeah. I shouldn't be able to fake slide and then take off down the sideline. That's BS. Come on, we all know that. And so I just think there's some of those things where we continue to take rules and make playing defensive football so incredibly hard that it doesn't even make athletic sense to just common sense of hey, it's you got a dog in your house. I always tell people if you just walk in my front door and my dog runs after you, you're the problem, not my dog. You don't just walk in somebody's front door, right? That's the truth. And when you're playing defensive football, you want to come run at me and fake you're going to slide and I light you up and because you do slide, that's your fault. You're the problem, right? Yeah. So that's the way I relate it. It's there's common sense things that we don't have to have all these conversations. It's common sense. If you're a quarterback, get your butt down and stop trying to get extra yards.
Get your ass down.
That's it.
Yeah. Get low.
It's real simple.
It's a perfect segue for our next segment, man. It's called Bringing the Lumber, powered by Yellowwood. Celebrating the hardest hits and the toughest tackles on the field, just like Yellowwood protects your 5-star backyard from the elements. So we want to know, what was Andrew Whitworth's Bringing the Lumber moment?
Is that me getting hit or me hitting somebody else?
I hope you. Oh man! I hope you hit. Boy, you got hit.
Yeah, I definitely did that. I definitely did that. But I've had some moments too. We all have them humble moments too. Man, you know what? I've had some good ones in my career. I think back to some of them just when you have those moments where we always talk about playing free, but you kind of hit that zone where you're just in it and it's one of them days you're oh man, I'm about to have a great day. And then I also think of those moments where maybe you mess something up that you shouldn't have and you're pissed off and then the next 6 plays are the best you could possibly play and you're dang, I should play like that all the time. Right. But you get mad at yourself. I think for me, it's really... it's tough to pick some. I think early in my career, I probably say, I can remember being a young left tackle, getting my opportunity to go play in Baltimore against the Ravens, and that defense was insane at that time. With Ray and all those guys, and T. Sizzle and Haloti Nagata and Kelly Gregg. Trevor Price. You name it, right? Those guys were crazy. And I can remember Rudy Johnson and Ray in the defense having him stood up at the 1-yard line, and I got off my block and had that moment where you a lineman, you push him into the end zone. That was my first moment as a young rook. I got love in the meeting, blah, 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 blah. Like that. I remember that, forever. And it was something that throughout my career, I had lots of those. And I really go back to I think it's because that was my first time to get love in a meeting and all the vets love me because I did it. And it's now it became something I want to do. I always want to be looking for those ops to push a pile or do more than just my job. And then later in my career, it's obviously Sean McVay as a creative offense. So getting those opportunities to get out as a tackle on the screen or pull out on people. And then some of those layout shots you get on DBs who, now in the game, they can't even cut you. So they got to take you on. So you get some fun shots there. But I think my funniest moment like that, that also includes me being pissed off and probably not in the right. We're playing the Minnesota Vikings on Thursday Night Football. In 2018, and we blew them out. It was an awesome game. Jared Goff was insane that night. But I'm playing Daniil Hunter, who was a tremendous player, still is. And Jared has a play where, we're doing a drop back pass, and he had a tendency as a young player to drop way too deep in the pocket. And he's like 12 yards deep. There's nobody up in the pocket at all whatsoever. And Daniil just takes a high rush. And I think we're perfectly fine, because in my mind as a left tackle, if I'm running him around at 10 yards, I'm great. Like, I'm going to run you around all day long. And he's back there and he sacks Jared. And I remember I was so mad, because I was like, I've been having this awesome game. I'm balling. I'm like, this is sick. I'm like, what are you doing back here? And in that moment, I wasn't right. I was like, I didn't even help him up, I don't think. And I remember Sean McVay called me out. Oh, yeah. Sean McVay called me out in the meeting. Like, bro, pick Jared up. Like, you're my captain. Like, you got to pick him up. And I was like, man, I'm so mad. I told him not to be deep in the pocket. But the next play, he calls like a release screen. And I get out and take the slot corner into the safety and like throw him. I pancake him so bad, he takes the safety's legs out and they go head over heels. And we almost get it was like a third and forever. And we almost get the first down like a half a yard, but it was an awesome play where I just literally let it out at 39 years old, 38, whatever I was. And it felt great. But at the same time, it felt horrible because I was so mad. But those kind of moments to me are what stick out, right? When you're right, when you're wrong, but you really just say, man, forget it. I'm 12 years old. I'm just going to I'm about to go hit somebody as hard as I possibly can. Right. That's all you're thinking about. Those kind of moments stick out.
Man, listen, bro. I appreciate the time, man. Appreciate the time. I know we got to go. We got to let you go, man. But thanks for coming on. And I did not realize that y'all really get that excitement about getting the opportunity to pull out and get somebody in space.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I guess the guys that can actually do it, maybe. Some of them big boys can't move real well. But, I mean, being a basketball player when I was growing up, like, I love them moments. Like,
that was too special.
I live for that.
Sweet feet.
I live for that.
Sweet feet.
So if I get to get out there in space, that's why I can't wait.
And then when you make the contact, because remember Coach Nolan, my coach in college used to say, you look at a guard or a tackle that pull out there and just whiff and miss, say, man, you out there looking like a goddamn runaway beer truck, son.
Yep.
What's that, coach? No brakes. no brakes. So when you make that contact, it's just
you know the waddlers. When you see the waddlers get out there, and you're like, oh no,
no chance.
His steps going side to side when you're running. Oh, he's in trouble.
Dope, man.
Man, appreciate you, bro.
Appreciate the time, brother.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it.
Behind the mask.